Well, thank you for joining me for another IT Wire interview. Today I'm talking to Alex Barnett. He is Intuit's Director of Product Management, visiting from the US. Welcome to the program.
Thanks very much, Alex.
So clearly your parents had excellent taste when it comes to names. But beyond that, you're in Sydney to speak at the ATSA 2017 conference. That's the Accountants Technology Showcase Australia. And I understand you're speaking later today. Can you please tell us some of the key themes from your presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, being in Sydney for the first time back in 20 years, it's really actually very exciting to be back here in Australia. And I had the opportunity to speak at ATSA, really talking about how technology, and in particular some of the emerging technologies, we're embracing to be able to enable small business customers and our accountants succeed through QuickBooks. So we're kind of just sharing a little bit about some of the growth that we're experiencing in the Australian market, which is growing and very exciting for us. We now have over 100,000 small business customers here in the Australian market, and that's grown. Actually, that's grown 85% in the last 12 months, and we're the fastest growing accounting provider in Australia, and intend to be ambitiously number one in the Aussie market in 5 years. The background there is globally we're at 2.38 million paying customers around the world, but the Australian market is a critical market for us to be able to really succeed and help our small business customers and accountants succeed. So what I'm talking about a little bit about the technology trends that we're seeing, and how we're taking advantage of those, and how we're helping our small business and accountants succeed around that. So I'll be sharing a little bit about how we're using machine learning, for example, giving some examples of how we're using machine learning. One is QuickBooks Online Auto Categorization, which is inside of the QBO mobile app. We're using machine learning to automatically categorize transactions when they import their spending activity from their bank accounts. So that really solves the pain point of categorizing the type of expenses, which is an important, really tedious task though for small business, and completely automate that. Another example is within our QuickBooks Self-Employed app, we have a new feature called Expense Finder. When we surveyed bookkeepers and accountants in Australia, 85% of them were reporting that one of the biggest challenges they face is when their clients are mixing their personal and their business expenses, and they're spending a lot of time kind of untangling that within the QuickBooks, within their books. And so this feature is using machine learning algorithms to scan those bank accounts and credit card transactions and accurately differentiate between what is a personal and business expense. And this becomes a real problem, especially for the self-employed market, where they're often using the same credit card to be able to do a business expense as well as their personal expense. And so, the typical self-employed customer has around 2,000 transactions that they would need to sort through each year. Around 500 of those, so about 25%, are business transactions. So having machine learning and really smart technology like this can just take that task right off the table, just saving a bunch of time and providing peace of mind for the end customer and obviously for the accountant as well. The third example is QB Assist, which is an artificial intelligence voice assistant that helps our customers find answers to questions really fast. So today, if you wanted to find out, what is your position for the month, or, what expenses do I have in the last month, within a mobile app or through the web app, you've got to go and do a couple of clicks and just see where you are. With QB Assist, you can just literally ask it, how am I doing this month? And it'll show you visually the data back, and then you're able to start drilling into that. So what are my expenses now? And so it'll understand the context, it'll look back in the last month and start coming back with really quick answers in seconds instead of a few minutes to try and find the answers that they're looking for. So that's a couple of examples that we're talking about at ATSA. We're also talking about how we're helping our accountants grow their business as well. So we've got a new program called Find a Pro Advisor. And one of the insights, and maybe you're already very familiar with this, is that nearly 90% of small businesses tell us that they feel they're more successful when they're working with an accountant. And so we want to be able to help make that connection between the accountants and small businesses. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through Find a Pro Advisor, where we actually enable those connections inside of the product. So you could be a small business customer using QuickBooks Online. We've got a tab there called My Accountant. And if you don't have an accountant connected to your QuickBooks Online instance, we'll actually help you find one. So you could be a customer looking for an accountant in Sydney. And then a number of profiles will come up with reviews about those accountants. And then we make it really easy, just a click, to be able to then contact the accountant and find out if they might be the right accountant to connect with. And so that would be an example of how we're helping small businesses be more successful by connecting to accountants, but also for accountants and actually helping them find new customers through our platform. And then I'll also be talking about a couple of kind of key integrations that we have with some of our partners out there. One of them is Google, as an example. We partner with their team with Google G Suite. And as you might know, G Suite includes Gmail, Google Sheets, and Google Calendar. And so what we do with that integration is allow a customer that's using the G Suite mobile app, once they connected it to QuickBooks, is then to be able to very quickly create an invoice from a calendar appointment that's already inside of their Google Calendar app. And so from the Google Calendar app, they can click on the appointment that's happened in the past. They click a button, and there's a screen that automatically populates with the information from the Google Calendar to populate the invoice information. They can add maybe a couple of additional details. They click a button, and then, within seconds, then the end customer then receives either a notification or an email to say, hey, there's an invoice from, your provider, and click here to pay. And so we're drastically saving amount of time and that it involves to actually get an invoice created and helping our small business customers get paid a lot quicker.
I see your ads in Australia on that.
Yeah.
So just quickly, are these technologies being deployed across the world at the same time, or are you launching some of them first in the US or Europe before bringing them here, or vice versa?
Yeah. So with the QuickBooks Online auto categorization, that's available globally today. QuickBooks Self-Employed Expense Finder, that's available global today. With QB Assistant, we're in beta, but we're also in beta in the Aussie market as well. So we've got 6,000 customers actively using QB Assistant today, including in Australia, and we'll be making that generally available over the next few weeks. The Find a Pro Advisor program is available in Australia. It's working today for QBO customers in Australia and helping accountants find new customers there. And then with the Gmail, with the G Suite integration, that will be available in Australia in the next few weeks. So a lot of the features and a lot of the capabilities, generally we roll out globally, all at the same time. In some cases, we might be doing something in the market first and then rolling it out globally for everybody.
And do you think maybe in a decade's time, if we look into the future, I mean, will artificial intelligence and machine learning become so advanced that maybe we don't need physical accountants anymore? The computer's just smart enough to do it all.
Yeah, I actually, we're feeling very optimistic that these technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence, increased automation, will actually create brand new opportunities for accountants to become, to transition from, if you like, number crunchers or just doing sheer computational data entry and evolve their role actually into trusted advisors for their small business customers. And they can do that by having their customers spend less of their money on that number crunching and actually spend their money more around those advisory, providing the insights from the accountants, the business consulting opportunity, and to do that as well at scale, to be able to serve more customers, in fact, because of the automation that's occurring. So I just to give you an example, the self-employed market is a huge growing opportunity. We know today there are 1.8 million self-employed customers in Australia. Today, we expect that to grow to about 3 million over the next 5 years in Australia alone. And so one of the challenges there and an opportunity is how do accountants actually serve this really large growing base in a way that's going to scale. And so through the technology, it'll help accomplish that, but then also to be able to provide more of those kind of consulting and advisory services also at scale because of the technology. So we're actually really optimistic that the trends that we're seeing is going to create huge opportunities for accountants to kind of elevate their role and provide added value services versus, being eased out because the work that they do is just being completely automated.
Now, I know you've got to go, but just I always like to ask the people that I interview if they can please share some of the best advice that you've received in your life to help you get where you are today, and then to close, what your final message would be.
Oh, that's the best advice I've received. So in a business context,
business or life, career, it's up to you. Yeah.
Oh.
Business or life, it's up to you. Yeah. Either way. Or both.
Well, I think it's really about following your passion. What gets you excited? What are you passionate about? What are you curious about? And if you follow your passions, I believe, and it's worked out for me so far, is that opportunities will come from your career and other opportunities. So it's about following your passion and setting your sights about how you can pursue that passion. And if you're doing that, I feel kind of good things will come.
And your final message to those listening?
What was it? I love Australia. I want to come back more often. It's been too long. The last time was 20 years ago. It's still a great country. I love this country. It's great to be back in Sydney. So I hope to come back more often.
Well, Alex, thank you very much for your time and best of luck with the conference today.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Alex, and thanks very much for your interest.
Thank you. Bye-bye.